It is time for Around the 412 with Smitty and Tyler.
Welcome back into another episode of Around the 412. I am Tyler. With me, as always, is my co-host Smitty. Be sure to follow us on all of our social medias at Around the 412. If you're not watching the show on YouTube already, go subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you never miss a video, and never miss when we go live, because it is Steelers season. So if you missed it already, we had week 1 Steelers Saturday sit down, and it's going to be every Saturday morning before the Steelers are going to be playing. Varies a little bit with the weekday games as well, but we have Steelers Saturday sit down every Saturday morning for the most part at 10 a.m. Eastern, where we go live previewing the matchup, which is why you don't really hear us on the Steelers show talk about the upcoming matchup, because we like to save that for the live show on Saturday. So subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the notification bell, and leave a like on the video. It really helps us out a lot. Also, follow us on all your podcast listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Leave a 5-star review. Helps us out a ton as well. And while you're either listening or watching this show, go check out the description. We've got all the links to our great sponsors, and we also have year 8 of Rocket Around the 412. It is our Christmas fundraiser over the past 7 years. Been able to raise money and donate to the Angel Tree of the East Rochester Salvation Army to provide children in the local Pittsburgh area with 177 children, to be exact, with the Christmas that they've always deserved. And Smitty and I never had to worry about where it was coming from. So it's a huge thank you to everybody that has donated in the past, and we want to continue to grow this thing. The GoFundMe link is down below if you want to donate to that. You can also donate directly to Smitty or myself as well, and those donations go directly to children that we get a Christmas list for them, provide them the Christmas that they need, and then East Rochester Salvation Army would partner up with on their Angel Tree in the name of our late friend Dalton Keene, and we adopt the kids off the Angel Tree, get them the gifts that they need as well. It kind of gives them a list of ideas as well. So there's multiple ways to get involved. The Angel Tree, at least to my knowledge, is not ready yet, but when it is, we will let you guys know. GoFundMe link is down below, though, and you can hit us up directly. There's also some great prizes that you can win. We give away some Penguins tickets, some Pittsburgh sports memorabilia, some Game Changer shirts, all that good stuff. So there's a little bit of incentive as well if you want to get involved. But, yeah, the information is down below.
Yeah, I was texting with Mary Kay a couple days ago, and they do something every year a couple times. One is at Christmas, one they try to do before the season starts with the Penguins. So I think they're kind of focused on that right now. So I've been saying September. It's probably looking more like it's going to be like October when we really start to ramp that up and actually start getting tags in our hands for you guys to take.
Got it.
But yeah, I mean, stay tuned for that. We'll be in touch whenever we can do that. But of course, you can donate. And I actually have a number. I was trying to figure out how much of a percentage GoFundMe exactly takes. This is a good number. We got a $100 donation this past week. We got $96.80 from that. So it's not a massive portion that GoFundMe takes, but just to let you guys know what percentage they take, it's $3.20 off every 100. So just to give you guys an idea of the amount of money.
If you listen to the past, especially the past month or so, you probably heard about our little beef with GoFundMe. So
yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I understand, but either way.
I can't imagine not being 1-0 though. How about you?
Got to be a tough feeling, especially like the way that Baltimore lost. It's got to be very tough. And
I can't imagine not winning my shootout week 1.
How they win or how they go about business in week 2. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing here, right? Like we discussed on here and we discussed on Steelers Saturday sit down. Like we both predicted the Steelers were going to win this game, but it couldn't have been more opposite in terms of how it actually went down in the game. I mean, a shootout taking place in East Rutherford. Now, I don't think it ended up being the game of the week because of what happened on Sunday Night Football, 100% living up to what we expected Sunday Night Football.
You could arguably have gotten game of the year on the Sunday Night Football docket of week 1.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, pretty good primetime games across the board, at least in terms of excitement. Like you couldn't go to sleep and not miss something with the way that the Bears collapsed last night and everything like that. The Chargers obviously beating the Chiefs on Friday. The Cowboys very competitive in their game against the Eagles on Thursday to kick off the season. The Sunday slate was pretty solid across the board. I was really locked into the 4 p.m. games because I wanted to see the Packers and Lions. It's just week 1. Don't want to overreact. it's week 1. I don't want to overreact, but both ends of the spectrum there. The Packers did look good, and I'd also have some concerns in terms of how the Lions are going to adjust to losing both their coordinators and their starting center. But we're not here to talk about all that. We're here to talk about the Steelers. 34-32 win over the New York Jets. Went down completely the opposite of how I thought it was going to be. I'm not necessarily surprised that the Steelers struggled to run the ball in this one. The Jets are pretty good up front, and I figured that they would key in on that. But I'm surprised that the Steelers had the success they did through the air, especially considering that like the line wasn't that great in terms of pass protection either. Like I just think that Arthur Smith did what Arthur Smith does in terms of mitigating an offensive line when they're struggling. And to be honest, I know that, we've been vocal when it's been time to be vocal on the negative side. I'll plant my flag on this. I think Arthur Smith called his best game as a Steelers offensive coordinator, going back to last year included. I think this was his best game. The thing is, right, when you have the wide receiver room that they do, I think a big part of getting the most out of those guys is going to be scheming them open. I think he did an excellent job of scheming guys open, getting the play action that they had going. Aaron Rodgers, 3 touchdowns on play action, his most since 2016. I mean, listen, give Aaron credit 100%. I thought Aaron played a clean football game, was very good, did what he had to do, getting the ball out. I think, to me, the main story here offensively is what Arthur Smith was able to do more than anything else. I thought he made life pretty easy for the quarterback as much as possible, given the offensive line play that was in front of him.
I have to agree with you. I think that Arthur Smith did call a really good game. When you watch the game back, you do see the route tree that he was using. A lot of the receivers were open, and in some of those sacks, it was just more so a lack of execution from the offensive line than it was like in bad play calling or on Aaron Rodgers. And I think it's the same thing goes with the run game. I don't necessarily think that was an indication of like poor play calling. I think it was just poor execution on the offensive line's part. And also, while I'm talking about the run game and it's on my mind, what was it in the first half where Kenneth Gainwell was pretty much the starting running back? And it was so weird to me that at least in the first half, it almost seemed like Kenneth Gainwell was the number 1 and they were saving Jaylen Warren. Not really sure what you thought of that, but it was interesting to me that you didn't really see Jaylen Warren a ton in the preseason. I thought that he would be getting, for sure, out of the gate, the bulk of the carries. He ended up getting the most in the game, but through the first half, Kenneth Gainwell was leading the team in carries. And I don't know if that had to do with the lack of run efficiency from the Steelers in the first half. I mean, throughout the entire game, for that matter. But it just was interesting to me that Kenneth Gainwell had that much involvement, because I thought that, and we talked about this on Steelers Saturday Sit Down, that Kenneth Gainwell was going to be the Steelers' number 2 running back in this game. Caleb Johnson wasn't going to see a ton of run, is what we expected, and that was the case. But Kenneth Gainwell also, we didn't necessarily think was going to be that much involvement out of the gate. And so what did you think about that? Like, why do you think that they went that route early on?
A lot of times, like, whether I'm wrong or right, I have an opinion, and it's like, I think this is why. I got no clue. I don't have an answer as to why I think that was the case. Because, like, anything that you could say that he could do that they would like, Jaylen Warren can do also. Okay, you trust Kenny Gainwell on pass protection, which he was good. I mean, there's a play where DK Metcalf makes a play and creates a ton of yak on the hash, and it doesn't happen if he doesn't get a blitz pickup from Kenny Gainwell. Jaylen Warren's a really good pass protector in terms of his receiving ability. Jaylen Warren can catch the ball great out of the backfield as well. Actually caught his first receiving. That's crazy to think, isn't it? Jaylen Warren caught his first touchdown ever.
That is weird.
As good of a receiving back as he is, he didn't have a receiving touchdown before Sunday. So yeah, I have no idea in terms of what was up with the running back rotation. And it's like, that is honestly, if I'm thinking about things that I'm looking at for this Seattle game, not like key matchups or anything, just like, what do I think is going to happen or what am I watching for? I want to see, does that running back rotation carry over? I don't think so. I think we can just chalk it up to like week 1 for whatever reason being weird. Maybe they saw something. We're trying to identify it. Like, I don't know. I really don't know. But then not only did Caleb Johnson put a ball on the ground on a kickoff, Kenny Gainwell put a ball on the ground too. And I know he made a big play on special teams, forcing a ball out that Skoranek recovered. But that kind of feels like that's when the backfield shifted and Jaylen Warren did get a bunch of carries afterwards and end up overtaking. So I wonder if the thought coming in was, Jaylen did fumble in the preseason. Maybe that's why Gainwell started out this game. I don't know. Tomlin can be kind of weird with that doghouse stuff. So I'm not sure. I mean, Jalen signed an extension after that. So I don't know. I'm just trying to come up on the fly with whatever reason that running back split took place the way that it did. I wouldn't expect it to carry over. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just curious of your thoughts because that was something that not just but it seemed like everybody was noticing that Kenneth Gainwell was getting a lot more run than expected. Mm-hmm. But honestly, this game went completely, and you said it, like completely different than what we discussed. I think your final score was 23-10. Mine was 20-10. And I thought that this game plan was going to be both offenses more or less living between the 30s. Like I didn't think that you were going to see a ton of red zone work, going to be a defensive battle, low scoring game, and it was anything but. And obviously the Steelers were able to have success through the air, but honestly, so were the Jets, more so than I thought they were going to. But I think the way more concerning part about that was the defensive run game. I thought the Steelers were very poor in stopping the run. That's goes without saying. That's concerning to me in week one, what should be the strength of this defense and something that they focused on. I thought that if they were going to have success on the ground, speaking of the Jets, it would come from primarily Justin Fields, because I imagine that they would bottle up Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, but it came from pretty much everybody. I mean, Breece Hall had a fantastic day, 19 carries for 107 yards. Justin Fields was good on the ground, ran for 2 touchdowns, and a defense that also is notorious for kind of bottling up some of those mobile quarterbacks. I mean, they play in a division with Lamar Jackson, face him twice a year, and in recent years, like they've had success against Lamar Jackson, even though he is one of the most elusive quarterbacks. It just is interesting to me that in week one, it couldn't have been more different, which I'm not going to complain about. Like it was an entertaining game from start to finish, and it kind of made us worrisome until they had that turnover on the kick return. I was worried that the Steelers were going to let this one slip in week one, and we'd be sitting here talking about how did the Steelers let this happen? How did we get here where they're losing? At that point, I think was it a double-digit lead for the Jets?
They were up, not double digits, 2 scores though. They were up by 9.
Two scores. Okay. Yeah, but man, this was a wild one, but yeah, the offense to me was the story of Arthur Smith and Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers being able to execute this offense, okay, and Arthur Smith calling a great game.
The stat from Aaron Rodgers is pretty crazy. Since Rodgers was drafted in 2005, NFL teams are 14 and 349, good for a .039 percentage when they allow 32 plus points and don't rush for 60 yards. Aaron Rodgers did that in this one. So the 14th game that was ever won. And also it's only the 4th time that anybody's done it on the road as well. Wow. So, say what you want about Aaron Rodgers and not having to do a ton on Sunday, but he also didn't have much help on the offensive side of the ball in terms of what the run game did for him. And also the offensive line, it wasn't like it was good in pass protection, and they were good on play action, but like that's also when he was taking the sacks too. I mean, very first play of the game is a sack because they try to run play action, and the offensive line just got collapsed on.
That's tough to turn your back to the offensive line. I feel like not being able to trust play action too.
That's why Ben didn't like doing it. Yeah. Ben didn't like doing it at the end of his career because he didn't want to turn his back on that offensive line. And it's hard to blame him when you look at the offensive lines that they were putting in front of him. So I don't know. This is going to have to come together quickly. Thankfully. And, I don't want to jump the gun here and get to the conclusion of this, but this is good to work in now because I have put in a request, and I believe it is in the works, for a Chris Boswell Game Changers tee. I believe he will be the first kicker to have a Game Changers tee, and I'm looking forward to it. What's going on, everybody? Smitty from Around the 412 here. Got to take a quick second to tell you about our friends at Game Changers. That's their logo. This is one of their shirts. Best vintage t-shirts in the game. Doesn't matter if it's sports, music, movies. They got you covered with their designs. Over 5,000 different designs in that catalog over there. GameChanger.la or Pick6.la. You'll save yourself $10 when you use the code AT412 on your order. The link is below to both of those sites. Go check out their entire catalog. Again, 5,000 different designs. If you go with the black or the white, it'll be true to size. If you go with the pepper, which I'm wearing right now, or the ivory, they'll be a bit oversized. It's a heavyweight material. Beautiful stuff. Go check them out. Again, save yourself $10 using code AT412 at checkout. We just did a giveaway, by the way. Game Changers. Chris Gillis, my boy, actually was the one that won the Jalen Ramsey t-shirt that I gave away. So shout out to Chris. Definitely going to have plenty more on the docket given away over there. So excited about that. Of course, you got to be subscribed. You got to be following all that good stuff. But yeah, I mean, Chris Boswell is a cheat code. I mean, like, how good does it feel to have that guy, to take the words from Skip Bayless, on your side? You cross the 50 and you feel good about getting at least 3 points, which is pretty crazy to think about. I mean, kickers in general are nuts now. Like, I don't know what's going on, but everybody can kick, at least from a distance perspective. But Chris's leg has gotten so much stronger. Like, you remember earlier in his career, like, yeah, he was an accurate dude, but it was like, 50 was stretching it a bit. He's throwing them from 60, and it's like, that's probably good from 70. Like, I mean, it's just been insane to watch his career arc here. Just continues to get better. I would have probably, if I was, Omar Khan and Art Rooney II, given him a new contract immediately following this game. Second straight opener where he's had at least 2 kicks of 56 plus yards. Insane. Best in the business, hands down. He's unbelievable. What a weapon to have on your side, because we're not sitting here having this conversation if it's not for him. Like, yeah, they did enough to get them into position on that game-winning drive, but like just barely enough. 60-yard field goal is what Chris had to make.
Yeah, he's lethal. It's amazing too. And I know I'm not the first to say this, but how he has like a low pulse the entire time. No emotion, doesn't get too high and doesn't get too nervous in these kicks. And it's crazy because I think that he has kind of rubbed off on the fan base in that way. I don't know about you, but whenever they lined up for the field goal, I was not nervous at all. And maybe that's just hopeful optimism on my part for a 60-yard field goal, but I was thinking like, Chris can make this. Like he's going to make it. I have every confidence in the world that he's going to make it every single time he goes out there.
Did you see the on the post game show that I did with Alan over there? Steelers Not Post Game. Alan said he started typing the tweet and pre-writing about the Steelers winning when Chris got sent out.
When Chris got sent out. I mean, I said, I remember who I said it to, but man, I would have been way more nervous about a 4th down play than I am Chris kicking a 60-yard field goal. I genuinely feel like Chris Boswell is the best kicker in the NFL. I don't know if you can, if there's anybody that can deny that now or should deny that. How consistent he's been.
And like, I don't think that we're talking about a short period of time here anymore. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting ahead of my skis at this point, and obviously I'm biased. I'm not going to try to say that I'm not here. I think he's approaching Mount Rushmore of kickers all time right now with the way that he's kicked over the last few seasons. It's a short body of work, maybe, where you feel like he's been in like that conversation, but I think he's been the clear-cut best kicker now, like 3 out of the last 4 years. So if you have like that window, it's kind of like the James Harrison conversation, right? Like, yes, it was a short period of time that he was dominant, but it was so dominant where you think like he's got to be in the Hall of Fame. And I'm not like kickers making the Hall of Fame doesn't really happen. So I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, I think when it's all said and done, if he does this for another 2-3 years, I don't see why he shouldn't be considered a Mount Rushmore type kicker.
I'm trying to think of who else would be on that. Vinatieri.
Adam Vinatieri, obviously.
Would you put Justin Tucker on it?
I didn't even want to say his name. I feel like you probably have to from an accolades perspective. Yeah.
I don't think about kickers enough to even like.
Gary Anderson still has the most points, right? Or did he just get like something? I mean, he's up there. He's got to be.
Honestly, no clue.
Yeah,
no clue. You're asking me a kicker stat. That's really that's really punching out of my weight.
I'm asking you an NFL as a whole stat, most total points in history. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But I'm just, if he continues this run of dominance for a couple more seasons,
Steelers should try to extend him.
I think they want to. I don't know that he does. That's the thing. He's got his stepson and wife that were in the picture. Now he has a baby of his own that was brought into the picture as well. Like, he's fully established a family now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could see him just wanting to kick out this contract. Call it.
while I respect it, I
Yes,
have
it
to
sucked.
disagree, Chris. Like
It's
I,
gonna suck.
I wholeheartedly disagree. You're at the top of your game right now, and plus, I know you don't do jack during training camp, so it's not like you can't be with your family
Right.
during.
Yeah.
You
He golfs more than he kicks.
literally
during
show
training camp.
kick 60-yard field goals during the season and then go home. And he
Yeah.
does it again next season. He doesn't do anything during the preseason.
Yeah.
Living the life.
You're right. You're probably talking about like I mean, obviously he's in the building, so he's not with them while training camp and stuff is taking place, but he's going home. I don't know. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's a good point. I don't know.
Like I mean this as a compliment. He
Yeah.
might be the person the person in the world that gives the least amount of effort to the maximum amount of output at his
Yeah.
job.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that wholeheartedly as a compliment. I wish I could do that. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. I want to go back to the defense though, because you mentioned about the run defense, and I feel like we kind of skipped over it because I just was jumping around here. A few things stood out to me on tape individually. How our predictions were wrong in terms of the game, just like entirely how we thought it was going to go. My bold prediction was Keanu Benton has 2 sacks. I feel like what he did on Sunday was basically the opposite of that as well. So not only did our game prediction like not go according to plan, my bold prediction couldn't have been more off. I mean, Keanu Benton got totally washed out in the run game, was getting bullied, and he had 17 pass rush snaps. 0 of them resulted in him getting a pressure. He was non-existent.
Double teamed all the time either.
He was non-existent in this football game. I mean, that's as bad as I think that he's looked in his 3 seasons as a Steeler. So pretty discouraging stuff there. I think it really magnified how much this football team needs Derek Harmon back into the fold. I thought, some reserve guys did not look good either. Daniel Ekuwale, I thought, did not play well. Y.A. Black had a couple pressures, but it's just like, this goes back to like when pressures matter. Okay, Y.A. Black ends up in the backfield. Is he tackling Justin Fields in open space? Heck no. Justin Fields
Imagine the Selly if he did, though.
Yeah. But I didn't think he played very well against the run specifically. And speaking of not playing well against the run, I know there's some questions about him. I'm not giving up on this idea after one game in terms of him not being able to come off the field. Peyton Wilson, I thought, was awful. I mean, just total non-factor in this game. It's not like game script and the way that the Jets play was like super favorable for him because he's a guy that thrives off covering running backs and tight ends and stuff like that. But man, you talked about getting washed out the way that I did about Keanu Benton. He guys were climbing to the second level. They get their paws on him and he's just completely out of the play. Just a total non-factor on Sunday was Peyton Wilson, which, I think is super discouraging when they've clearly invested so much in him in a way. I know that he was a 3rd-round pick, but what I mean by invested so much in him is like they put a lot on his plate, I think, this year, saying that he was going to be a guy like a 3-down linebacker that they just thought didn't have to come off the field. So far 0 for 1 in terms of being able to be that guy. So, you don't have Malik Harrison in the fold. He's hurt, and I think it's pretty significant, that injury.
Yeah.
Landon Roberts ain't walking back through that door. And it's not necessarily Cole Holcomb's specialty either. So I think Peyton has to have a much better game on Sunday. And I know that we're not going to preview this. It's what Steelers Saturday sit downs for. Talked a lot about this running back duo for the Jets in Braylon Allen and Breece Hall. Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet is a pretty good running back duo as well. And I actually like Charbonnet a little bit more than Kenneth Walker for what Seattle does offensively under Kubiak. But we'll talk about more of that on Saturday. I think that they're going to try to deploy a pretty similar play style against us.
Wouldn't be surprising. I thought the defense was overall disappointing. I mean, you had some good performances on Sunday, but overall, especially the front 7, how are you going to let that run defense go like it did?
Yeah.
I just thought everybody.
I thought they rose to the occasion the last couple of drives. I think that they finally put it together. Cam Hayward made a nice play in the backfield to set up the Jalen Ramsey pass breakup, and Chuck Clark actually really nice tackle on Justin Fields on an option play after he had to come in for DeShon Elliott. We can talk about that in a little bit too. But Overall, just absolutely abysmal. I can't imagine.
I mean, even Cam, I know he had the one tackle for loss that you're referencing, but more or less
for the most part,
invisible during the first half, first 3 quarters of that game. It was just a disappointing effort from the defense.
I thought the edges were pretty good. I mean, Alex had 8 pressures in this game. He had a sack. They ran to his side a lot, and I don't know. I mean, watching, I didn't think he was completely absolved of blame in terms of why the run defense was poor, but I definitely don't think he was the biggest culprit. And TJ, they didn't have any explosive run plays to his side. They had the one explosive play in the screen game to Breece Hall, but overall, I thought the edges were actually pretty good. Another thing that Tomlin definitely had to be pissed about. These corners did not look like they wanted to tackle in this game. Joey Porter and Darius Slay looked like they wanted nothing to do with helping out in the run game. And how much have we talked about over the years, that being a prerequisite if you're going to play corner for this football team? They didn't seem interested in doing it for whatever reason. I have no idea, but
their counterpart did with Jalen Ramsey. And I'm going to add an asterisk to one of my predictions where I predicted that he would have a turnover. Didn't know if it was going to be an interception or a field goal. I'll take a turnover on down. Little asterisk
basically
there.
Turnover. Yeah. Yeah. Half a point.
Yeah.
You got the opening drive touchdown.
Roman Wilson didn't score a touchdown though. He didn't even have. Did he have a target?
He did not get a target.
Yeah. L on that.
He had 10 snaps, the same amount as Ben Skoranek. So
Ben scored the opening drive touchdown.
Yeah. So again, super wide open.
Should have cashed in.
Speaking on the offensive side of things, we're just jumping around so much, but thoughts just keep popping in my mind. This also goes to show you the way that this show runs, where it's just we don't even do the notes thing anymore. There was a period of time where we'd have notes and jump on here and stuff. Now, right before we record, we just say what we're going to talk about. And for this, it's super easy because we're like, oh, there was a football game. They signed a safety. We'll just talk about that. Calvin Austin, I thought, was the best offensive player for either team. 4 catches for 70 yards in the game. Drew a DPI. Should have drawn a second DPI. And was just open a whole bunch. I mean, Brandon Stevens got abused in this game by Calvin Austin. There's always, I feel like as a receiver, there's always going to be meat left on the bone, right? Every time you're open, you're not going to get the ball. That's just the reality of the position. But Calvin probably could have had 120, 130 yards in this football game easily. Went into it with a lot of questions about who was going to be that guy opposite of DK Metcalf. Calvin ran 17 routes from the outside. I don't know if that's going to be, feasible going forward. Brandon Stevens is 6'1", should have no problem pressing Calvin Austin. Wasn't able to do it effectively on Sunday. Calvin had a really nice game, I thought. Taking concern, DK Metcalf, both quarterbacks, Garrett Wilson. To me, going back and watching on tape, I thought Calvin Austin was the best player on offense.
Yeah, he was really good. He was one of the players I was referencing when they said receivers were open a lot. Calvin Austin was open all the time. He should have had more than he did. Yeah, I that's going back to what I said earlier. The passing game in this game was surprising to me. I mean, 244 and 4 touchdowns from Aaron Rodgers. Did not have that on the bingo card. I thought the receivers played really well for what they could do with Metcalf.
Boston texted me and said under 200 yards passing for Rodgers, huh?
Yeah,
I'm literally across the board. It was
completely opposite of everything that we thought. But yeah, I thought it was really good. And also, this is not a receiver part, but as far as tight ends go, the touchdown with Jonnu Smith, while you have Pat Freiermuth and Washington also blocking on the
Darnell
play.
without a target. By the
Darnell
way.
also without a target. But that is just a lot of meat. That is a lot of Arthur Smith. I thought that touchdown was awesome.
Yeah, and I can't take the victory lap for that one. That wasn't my bold prediction for this game specifically, but if you remember, I said Jonnu Smith was going to have a rushing touchdown. That doesn't count as a rushing touchdown. It's a pop pass. So, unfortunately, I cannot count that.
Well, that's what I said. I love that is a just tossing it in front of you is considered a pass just because it's going forward.
But I mean, yeah, you got to, commend obviously the blocking effort on the outside by those guys. That's exactly what we talked about in terms of they're going to do different stuff in the red zone with Jonnu and in the goal line situation. I'm actually sitting there calling, hey, this is going to be a fade to Darnell, and different tight end, completely different play was what they decided to go with there. and it obviously worked out. So I thought you were going to bring up the snap counts. Jonnu playing the most of the tight ends at 37. Took me a little bit by surprise. I thought Pat would play the most out of the tight ends, and then I thought Jonnu and Darnell would probably be both around like 50%. But it was Jonnu playing like 66%, Pat at 50, and then Darnell at like 46%, something like that. And again, that's one of those things, like this might be a week-to-week thing. I'm not, I don't care about what the snap counts are for those guys, obviously, or anything like that. It obviously worked out in their favor, but I am curious just to see the way that trends. The one thing when I looked at the snap counts, like other than the running back thing that we had already talked about, that I'm like 100% certain is going to change. Roman Wilson is not going to play the same amount of snaps as Ben Skowronek. Like as soon as next week, I don't think that's going to be replicated. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I would think not. I mean, that's a candidate for a breakout this year, considering he lost his rookie season. I would hope. Something. Yeah.
And Alan and I had a conversation about this on Afternoon Drive. Is like, whether intentional or not, the Steelers left a lot of things that, like, in week 1, you go into it like everything that you show is going to be new to that team. But the Steelers left a lot that, like, they still didn't show in week 1 that they could this week. Like Roman without a target. Caleb Johnson only had 2 snaps. Like, they left a lot to be.
Darnell had no targets.
Darnell had no targets. Like, there was things that I think are going to be part of this offense as the year unfolds that weren't in week 1. So I just still think, I know I keep using the phrase meat left on the bone. I really think that there's so much that this offense did not break out in week 1 that we're going to see. And based off the game that Art called in week 1, I'm pretty optimistic. Like, as long as this offensive line just steadies a little bit, they got to allow the play action stuff to develop. That's the biggest part of this to me. Obviously, you got to be able to run the ball. I actually have less concern about that. I think this team is going to be able to run the ball. I don't know if it's going to be super effective, at least to the level that they've been able to, like last year. I mean, to me, this was worse than last year on Sunday, and I don't think that should continue. I will say, I don't want to make this like all about the Steelers or all about the Jets. I think you do got to give some credit to the fact that the Jets are a really good defense here as well. And I think they were daring the Steelers to win with Aaron's arm. Like, they were loading up the box to stop the run, leaving a lot of guys on islands and saying, you want to beat us, you're going to have to beat us through the air. And the Steelers were able to do that.
Yeah, it's clear to me that Aaron clearly has the arm still. I think that the mobility is not as good anymore. Obviously, with a 41, 42-year-old, you're going to have that happen. But Aaron can still sling it. And I feel confident, not just because he threw for 4 touchdowns, but I feel confident in our predictions and everybody's prediction that you're going to see the better quarterback play than you've gotten in years. And I think that emulated in week 1. Hopefully, the offensive line play can continue to get better as the season goes along to keep them more upright. 4 sacks in week 1. Don't really love that. I wish that my prediction of most disappointing player with Broderick Jones, I hope that gets better. Yeah, it's off to a good start for me, but I hope it gets better. Man, he looked a little lost out there at times. Will McDonald took his lunch. And that's something that we highlighted as well, that we've seen that before.
They did it.
2 sacks with Will McDonald.
They went back and watched last year and just said, Will, you're switching sides for this game.
I hope that he continues to improve. I hope that the rest of the offensive line continues to improve, considering that probably the guy that we were questioning whether he should be even on the starting spot probably had the best day in Mason McCormick.
I thought so too.
The entire offensive line as a whole just didn't look that great.
I thought, just going individually here, I thought Rodgers was pretty rough in both. I thought Isaac had some moments in the run game, but pretty rough overall as well. Some people probably try to say that he's compensating for Broderick. I'm not going to give him that pass. I don't think he's been, like, at least as advertised, honestly, for most of his Steelers tenure. He's also been pretty hurt through his Steelers tenure. So, I don't know, a little bit to be desired from me. Zach Frazier, I think we hold a pretty high standard already at this point. I don't know that he met that on Sunday. I thought he was fine. And again, you got to take into consideration the matchup as well. I think that defensive front is one of the better ones that they are going to face. McCormick, I thought, was their most consistent in both phases. In Fatanu, I thought mostly fine in pass pro, but not very good in run blocking. So
it's almost like they should swap Broderick and Troy.
Yeah.
Not that it would make a huge difference, because I feel like it's still going to happen on the right side of things, but at least Aaron could see it coming a little better.
Yeah. I mean, they're not going to do it.
They're not going to do it. Use this conversation, but it's a false hope.
Yeah. I don't know. Defensively, we did see, unfortunately, some injuries take place. Malik Harrison went down with what looked like a pretty significant one, already rolled out for this week, along with DeShon Elliott, who was rolled out for this week. But it's not as significant as maybe we once thought it was going to be, the way that it looked. Day-to-day or week-to-week.
Ban turf, by the way. Just ban
it. Day-to-day or week-to-week, depending on who you want to believe, if you're Team Schultz or your Team Rapp. So we'll see how quickly DeShon Elliott can get back into the fold. But in the meantime, we got a shiny new toy joining the back end in the form of Jabrill Peppers. I wanted to add him before DeShon Elliott got hurt because I think he's an upgrade upon what Chuck Clark brings to the table. I got to give Chuck Clark some marks for coming into this game in place of DeShon. And I thought, he's perfectly fine, suitable box safety. But in terms of like carrying a tight end up the seam, covering a running back out of the backfield, being able to guard the post, if they want to ever play too high, like you're not asking Chuck Clark to do those roles. And Jabrill Peppers can do whatever. He's played both safety spots. He's played nickel. He can contribute on special teams as well. Tomlin threw that in there, which makes me think he's going to have to get his feet wet on special teams a little bit while getting acclimated. But yeah, I'm super excited about the signing. Like at this juncture, are you making a better signing than signing Jabrill Peppers on September 9th?
I don't think so. I'm excited about it as well. Jabrill Peppers, a player that I really liked coming out of Michigan, and the Steelers supposedly had interest in him. I know. Yeah. OU.
Apparently Kevin Colbert, a big fan. Yeah.
Yeah. I really did like him coming out of Michigan. I know. But apparently the Steelers had interest in him coming out of the draft. I know that was 9 years ago. A lot of time has passed since then, but I think that his best football since college has come within the past few years with the Patriots. I think that was better than his Cleveland tenure, and he's definitely somebody that I would have wanted on the Steelers roster before the injury to DeShon Elliott happened. But it was so funny to me how blunt Tomlin was whenever asked, is this directly associated to DeShon Elliott's injury? Yes. Like
I think that there would, but like DeShon's only gonna like miss a game.
Well, that's the confusing thing to me. Is like, why was this move? If they were interested in him before, like, are the Steelers just sped serious? Up.
Yeah. I think that they were interested, but the interest heightened with DeShon Elliott going to miss some time. While it's not going to be long term or anything like that. And they would have needed to add a safety regardless. Like they just don't have enough bodies in the room without DeShon here. But I think it just, the possibilities that it opens up for what they're going to be able to do is crazy. I mean, we've talked about the versatility of a guy like Jalen Ramsey, obviously. Now this, it's going to be hard to account for where guys are at. Like they can do a lot of things. So we've talked about 3 safety packages for a long time, but then you bring in a guy like Jalen Ramsey and that like kind of goes away because he is that pseudo third safety that's playing in the nickel. But now with this, it's like, and I'm not saying to take Jalen or Darius Slay or Joey Porter Jr. off the field, but with what Jalen talked about before the season, where it's like, he's going to travel with ones no matter where they're at. Okay, well, if they're not in the slot and they're playing outside and Jalen's kicking outside, who's that guy in the slot? All of a sudden, you got the opportunity for it to be a Jabrill Peppers, for it to be a DeShon Elliott, for it to be like there's so many guys that can play that slot position now. Maybe it is Darius Slay. He hasn't done it a ton, but I know it's been mentioned. They got Brandon Eccles, obviously, is a nice reserve piece as well. This secondary's set up to be so good. It's going to be good even in the absence of DeShon Elliott because of this addition. When DeShon Elliott comes back, the rich get richer.
Do you think that is a red flag for a guy like Chuck Clark when DeShon Elliott comes back with them bringing in Peppers? Or do you think they're different enough where they could still use both?
That's the thing. Chuck Clark, I like, based off what I saw Sunday, just one game, I really like what he was able to do around the line of scrimmage. I mean, who knows what happens if Justin Fields picks up a first down and he doesn't make that tackle for loss.
Yeah.
Might be having a different conversation right now. But he's very limited in that. He's a guy that had experience playing both safety spots. I don't think anybody's given him a call to play free safety right now. Like, I think it's strictly just a box safety at this point in his career. Jabrill can do both, but I actually like Chuck Clark more in terms of a box safety. I like Jabrill just because of the versatility that brings to the table. I think there's room for both, to be honest with you. And they were going kind of light at DB anyway before. So, like, I don't know if that's your 4 DBs, because I'm not including Miles Killebrew, or your 4 safeties. I'm sorry, not 4 DBs. If that's your 4 safeties, I think that's perfectly fine. So,
I think so too. I think Jabrill Peppers also plays like.
To answer the question, maybe it's bad news for Chuck Clark, but I don't think it has to be.
Yeah. Peppers also feels like a Steeler, like the plays like a Steeler, and I know that I'm not the first person to say that, but like getting guys like Ramsey and Peppers those just feel like Steelers moves.
Yeah, they're like the Bash Brothers. I put out the clip of from D2 Mighty Ducks, the Bash Brothers jumping on the ice and just taking guys out. And that's Peppers and Ramsey playing the same secondary. But like, honestly, like from a temperament perspective, it is like he's a guy that just makes sense as a Steeler. DeShon Elliott plays the same way though. I mean, I'm very excited for what this is going to look like once DeShon's back. I'm curious how quickly Jabrill Peppers can get acclimated. Like, he's going to have a helmet for sure on Sunday, but like, I assume it's going to be Thornhill and Clark starting. But how much does Peppers get worked into the equation? I wouldn't expect it to be like a Minka trade and then he plays in San Fran type role. I think it's going to be less than that. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the matchup. I think that
he's played 7 different defenses, by the way. Did you see his tweet about this?
Yeah, I saw it whenever he got cut.
6 different defensive coordinators, 7 different defenses. So, like, it's just going to be about the terminology. There's not going to be anything schematically that the Steelers do that he's not going to be able to jump in and do. It's just going to be understanding the terminology and communicate. And how quickly
that's pretty much it. This gives me heightened expectations for the secondary as well. Like, I think that you're just adding another solid piece to that secondary. Kind of makes me hope that in game 2 we see the run game get their crap together, because I feel like on the back end, the Steelers, at least right now, personnel wise, have a strength there.
Yeah. See about Joey dealing with a hamstring. They're optimistic about him being able to go. And Tomlin said very optimistic about the debut of Nick Herbig, which, not necessarily like he's going to all of a sudden be this huge contributor in terms of stopping the run. That's not his game. But I'm excited about adding him back into the pass rush rotation for sure. I mean, this is a better football team when Nick Herbig's healthy. No doubt about it. I mean, the pressure rates that he gets when he's on the field, he's a great just like sub-package rusher that you throw out there. Tell him, hey, go rush the quarterback for 15 snaps. He's probably creating a pressure on his pressure percentage last year was like 17%. So I guess you figure out. But yeah, I think getting him back into the fold is going to be massive. It also takes the load off of Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt as well. And you just wonder, like, that's something we've talked about in the past, mitigating their snaps in a
Watt
bit.
And Highsmith in week 1, 88 and 89% of the snaps.
Yeah, kind of what I expected because of no Herbig. But I really think they got to find a way to get that even lower. I think less is going to be more as the season goes on. For
sure. If Herbig's back, I expect good things. And with the injury to Malik Harrison, they feel like they need to get him back, because if they don't, if they have him out and Jack Sawyer as your edge 3, who's edge 4 at that point?
Oh, they'd be elevating Leal from the practice squad.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I forgot that. It's still wild to me that we were debating on if he would be traded instead of being waived, and then they got him on the practice squad. Nobody else picked him up.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny because even though like Sawyer's on the team right now and Leal isn't, I think Leal might operate as edge 3 over Sawyer if he was elevated.
I'd actually expect that. I just forgot he was around.
And also very, very different task, to a Sam Darnold led offense as opposed to Justin Fields. Like, you might want the better pass rusher than the run defender, going against Sam Darnold in this team. So But we'll talk more about that matchup, obviously, on Steelers Saturday sit down. So another big fish coming to Pittsburgh in the form of Jabrill Peppers. Is there still one more out there? I wanted to talk about Tyreek Hill. His name thrown out there for a couple of reasons. But on Sunday, when the Dolphins were getting absolutely blown out by the Indianapolis Colts, wide receivers and their body language are going to do their thing. Tyreek Hill, very, very upset on the sidelines. This comes after last year in the locker room basically saying he wasn't going to be back and he had to do what was best for him and see what door opens next. And then he was back. And it seems like kind of still in like that mend relationship role right now or whatever's going on there. Wasn't named the team captain for the first time since being in Miami. There's just so many things to this. I think Tyreek Hill is going to be out in Miami. I'm not predicting Pittsburgh is where he's going to end up landing. But I will say, and I don't know if we've talked about this on here before going back to the Jonnu stuff. The Jonnu Smith conversation did not begin as a Jonnu Smith conversation. The Steelers called the Dolphins about Tyreek Hill. That got turned into a Jonnu Smith conversation. That got turned into a Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey conversation. So the Steelers, while they traded for Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey, originally made that phone call to Chris Greer to talk about Tyreek Hill's availability. The Dolphins did not want to trade him at that point. With everything else that continues to pile on there with Miami, if this team continues to trend in this direction, I think Tyreek Hill's going to be out. I don't think it's going to cost an arm and a leg to trade for him. And Mike Florio put out the two teams that I would probably have up there as well in Kansas City and Pittsburgh if he's going to be on the move.
Yeah, I think those make sense. Pittsburgh, obviously, with the need for a wide receiver still, at least the supposed need. I think that he would make sense as a receiver. And Kansas City, I think that relationship is there already. Would be going back to where he started. And I think that looking at their receiver room, especially with the injury to Xavier Worthy in week 1 running into Travis Kelce, they're needing some help as well. So I think either
Who's
of
their
those
wide receiver
spots,
one right now? Juju? I mean, like
probably.
Until Rashee Rice gets back into the fold. Mahomes had to do a lot of heavy lifting last year with the wide receiver room. This year's like tenfold. I mean, it's bad. Tyquan Thornton's playing a bunch of snaps for them.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think those two landing spots make sense. Obviously, it sounds like Tyreek Hill's got to figure some other stuff out as well. But from a football perspective, it makes total sense to add him to the Steelers room. And I don't know that you'd have to give up a ton to necessarily get him either, considering how vocal he has been about wanting out of Miami.
I think it's like a conditional fourth, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, Tyreek must hate Tua, right? maybe I'm speculating, but it's got to be rough right now for him.
I don't know what's going on with Tua.
Yeah, wasn't
like,
he? Isn't the thing about Tua is he's so accurate, and then in game 1,
yeah,
it was just.
But like people were even putting out there,
like
it's just progressively year by year he's gotten worse in terms of once he moves off that first read. Like, and Xavier Howard, who was with him in Miami, is now with the Colts, was talking about that, like how he's a quarterback. Once he gets off that first read, you got him.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh,
that's
boy,
wild.
That's pretty alarming that next teammate is saying that about him.
I mean, it's tough. He's dealt with so much injury-wise. I thought he should have retired a couple years ago after some of the concussions that he was having. I mean, respect to him for wanting to still play, but he's been through a lot, and I think it's clearly showing that he's been through a lot in his young career in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm not gonna speculate. I saw a lot of people throwing out there like maybe it's because of all those head injuries where it's affected his game. The progression stuff and what he does from a mental standpoint at the quarterback position. I don't know. I don't know how that stuff works. I'm not in neurology, but it has not been pretty in Miami. I don't think it's going to get better. I think Tyreek Hill eventually is going to be on the move, and I think Pittsburgh is a potential landing spot.
Is Miami going to be a team that they're competing with a quarterback for in 2026?
No, honestly one that hasn't been talked about, I feel like. But maybe.
I mean, I don't think that they're just going to hand the keys to Zach Wilson. As much as a biased BYU fan as I'd like to be, there's no way that you would do that instead of passing up on a 2026 quarterback.
I agree. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. But I guess the question is, do you want this? Do you want the Pittsburgh Steelers to trade for Tyreek Hill?
Okay, this kind of goes back to a conversation that we had last year. Based off of recent news that came out today as a recording, being accused of certain allegation, I need to see what happens with it. Because if it seems like it's more truthful, the allegations, then it's kind of similar to a Cam Sutton scenario where it's like, do I think that the team could use the talent? Yes, but would I want them on the roster? No, and that's just personal preference, my own belief. But would he make the football team better? Yes, I think he would. And also want to add in, Cam Sutton absolutely did not add any talent to the NFL or team last year. The Steelers would have been better off without him. But I digress.
I think everybody ended up being on board with us not wanting him just for a very different reason.
Sure. But yeah, I mean, and people are allowed to have their own opinions. But for me, like if any sort of domestic allegation is true with a player, not really intrigued by signing them or trading for them. But what am I going to sit here and say that he wouldn't make the Steelers better? No, I'm not. He would.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in full agreement there. And to be quite honest with you, I don't want to put so much stock in one game where I'm writing off just like any wide receiver addition. But I think it's almost owed to these guys at this point, like the Calvin Austins of this world, to just let them show what they have. Like you waited this entire time to do so. Calvin Austin's 1-for-1 and proving you're right.
Yeah. You haven't given Roman the chance to prove you're right yet.
Right. Man, it is so wild to me. Like I was talking about this with Alan. I'm surprised that they just didn't how they opened up the preseason and it was just like immediately they get him on a crosser and just get him that touch right away. Yeah. I kind of thought they would do the same thing in the regular season, just from like a confidence perspective. I think people always either like overrate or underrate how important that is. I just get him on like a bubble screen, just like a steamed up touch, just to get the ball in his hands and like get him involved in the game. Because he's kind of that receiver that like, kind of like a boxer that needs to get punched to feel like they're in the fight. He kind of feels like the type of football player that like needs to have involvement early to like get going, whether it's blocking, getting caught. You saw him doing that with Andre Cisco at one point when he was blocking. Like, I just think he needs to be engaged early and feel that. So I would have gotten him a steamed up touch early. They didn't do it. We'll see.
Well, hopefully they do on Sunday, but we will talk about that on Saturday. Steelers Saturday sit down. Again, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the notification bell. We go live at 10 a.m. on Saturday morning to talk about the upcoming game against the Seattle Seahawks, which Smitty, I don't know if you knew this. You're a season ticket holder, so you'll be at the game.
I'll be there.
I don't know if anybody listening to this new Steelers season ticket holder Smitty is, and he's also friends with Pat Fryermuth. Don't know if you guys know that, but just a little information for you. Oh, on the field after the game?
Keek and I on the field after the game. Oh, speaking of Keek, here. Smitty from Around the 412 here. And while I may not have much hair, the hair that I do have will not be cut by anybody besides Keek at Keek's Barbershop. My friend Christian Circle, been with us since day one. Keek's Barbershop, located 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Download the app, The Cut. Book an appointment with Christian today, or you can do walk-in with Tony or Ashley. But again, Keek's Barbershop, 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Go check them out. Old school vibe in there. Absolutely love it. Cannot recommend them enough. Wouldn't go anywhere else. Maybe I'll see you there. Maybe my best work in terms of throwing it to an ad right there.
Speaking of Keek, here.
But you know what? Probably going to be involved with the like they're always involved with the Christmas stuff that we have, and we're so thankful for them. They set up a bin over there for people to donate toys if they would like, and obviously accept monetary stuff there. But also, Christian's wife, well, we still call him Teak on here. Christian, aka Teak's wife, Hannah, is now a nurse at Central Valley School District, and they're involved with getting the families together and letting people know who needs help at Christmas time. So there's an in right there for us for getting families this year.
Yeah.
So one shout out to Hannah for getting the job there. I know that meant a lot to her, and it's what she wanted to do. So shout out for that. But also shout out to us, because we're going to be able to easily find families now with her doing that.
Yeah, which means everybody has to donate to the GoFundMe link below.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we got it covered. Talked about Steelers, Jets, talked about Jabrill Peppers, talked about Tyreek Hill and whether or not we want him here. Let us know your thoughts on all of that. Again, opinions are opinions. Everybody's got them. For me, at this juncture, not so sure I can get on board with Tyreek Hill. And honestly, like we're talking about this most recent thing. It's not like the dude had like the cleanest docket prior to this.
Sure.
Either.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. We'll see how this thing plays out, but we'll see how everything plays out. Super excited for Steelers Saturday sit down to talk about this matchup with the Seattle Seahawks coming up. Very different quarterback that they're going to have to defend on Sunday than they did last Sunday. Also, I'll just throw out this key nugget. The Seattle Seahawks had 156 passing yards on Sunday. Jackson Smith and Jigba had 124 receiving yards.
I know he's on two of my fantasy teams.
I think we know who we got to cover on Sunday. But we'll see you on Saturday for Steelers Saturday. Sit down. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell here. Leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. If you are listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever your podcast from, you will find us there. Just search Around the 412. Hit us up on all of our socials at Around the 412. And whether you're watching, listening, check out the links in the description. You'll find all of our great sponsors down there, including right above Tyler right now, Marcelo Electric, our friend Brandon Marcelo, a.k.a. Boots, his small business serving Beaver, Allegheny, Lawrence, and Butler County. Hit him up, 724-614-0611. Again, that's Marcelo Electric, 724-614-0611. The link below goes to his Facebook page. All of his work there, that contact information is there as well to hit him up. But that's it. And then, of course, year 8 Rock Around the 412, which we've talked about quite a bit here, but every single penny that we receive goes directly to helping kids in the 724 and 412 areas. I say we receive because, hey, you donate $100, we're getting, what did I say, $96.80. $96.80 of it. So keep that in mind. If you do donate, you can donate to us directly. You can definitely still donate through the GoFundMe. Prizes are definitely still going to be a part of it. Our great friend Pat Fryermuth will be donating something, as well as obviously Tyler buying Penguins tickets will probably be, I don't know, $20-$30 by that point. So, but there's gonna be a lot of good stuff. So be sure to donate, at least share the mission. You never know whose eyes and ears you can get on this thing. But that'll do it for us. I hope you guys are all enjoying the content we're putting out on the channel, other than the shows. By the way, I put out a show talking about Jabrill Peppers and what he, or not a show, put out a clip talking about Jabrill Peppers and what he brings to the table. And I've been doing obviously the Smitty Steelers in 60, which I've really enjoyed doing as well. And then we got the live show on Saturday. So be here for that. Do not miss it. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't. Hit up Tyler, Wild_Teaks33. Hit me up, Zachary Smith PGH. We'll see you then.